Halloween is a slasher franchise made in the late 70s to early 80s. Many horror fans across the globe, including myself, enjoy. They just enjoyed the movies in general. I'm a major fan of the movies, I will say, if you can't tell. You can't see the poster in the background, but I have a Halloween 2 poster with Michael Myers on it. I love the character. I love him so much. He's so interesting. Um Anyways, continuing on. I am a major fan of the Halloween franchise and the movies, and I will say that the 2007 Rob Zombie remake is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. I love those movies. I watched them religiously. Obviously not religiously, like too religiously, but I watch them like once every couple months or maybe once a month. I just kind of love the way it's written. It's just so well written. The characters are well written. Specifically the older, the adult version of Michael Myers and the young version of Michael Myers, a kid. They both did a wonderful job portraying this evil, sadistic killing machine. But yeah, in the 2007 Rob Zombie remake, this movie specifically obviously follows the story of a 12-year-old kid named Michael Myers. And it's not the whole movie is him when he's a kid, but this is kind of like they give him an origin story of like how this happened, and then the adult version where it's just him killing. But we're going to be focusing on the origin story at today. So it follows a 12-year-old kid who's extremely bullied and abused. Like, his stepdad or stepfather named Ronnie abuses him religiously, calls him the F slur so many times in this movie. And there's overall just a lot of heartache, you can tell, with this character. And specifically, well, throughout years of his life going through this, he ends up cracking. And on Halloween Day, he follows his bully William into the woods and ends up him to death with a stick. Well, not just a stick, it was like a whole tree branch. And then later that night, he comes home and he murders his stepfather, Ronnie, after binding him to the chair with duct tape. Very thoroughly, I will say. Very, very impressive. And then he ends up his neck wide open. Disgusting, gross. He ends up killing his stepfather, Ronnie. And then his sister's boyfriend ends up coming down the stairs. Bum's boyfriend, by the way. I actually don't remember his name, but he goes down the stairs to grab something, and he comes up behind him and in the head with an aluminum bat while he's sitting on the floor. So he kills him, and then he goes after his older sister, Judith, who's upstairs in bed. And she doesn't seem to suspect a thing, and then she ends up yelling at him. It's this whole confrontation, like, what are you doing in my room? She's only wearing like a t-shirt, and then he shoots her, and he shoots her 17 times before his sister Judith ends up dying in a horrific way. And then at the end of this little arc he ends up going, his mom is at work, by the way, and he has a little sister, but he ends up going to the front porch with his little sister, waiting for the police to come. That is the story. That is the origin story of little Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's 2007 remake. However, this is not just an origin story. I will say this has actually happened in real life. Not exactly to a T, but this has happened. Like, this case specifically that we're going to be talking about today is the case of Jake Evans, 17-year-old Michael Myers in real life. Also Wannabe, because it's not exactly, but you get the idea. Hello, I'm Seraphim. I'm new to the podcast and true crime community. This podcast specifically will be talking about a lot of true crime, a lot of really horrible cases, maybe some crime in history even, diseases, history, anything really cynical, but also there might be a couple bonus episodes here and there where I might talk about something silly or horror characters or horror genres, maybe break down slasher movies, horror movies, give you ideas on what you should and shouldn't watch on, like, if you want to be scared. Maybe talk about a few, like, horror games, psychological horror, anything really that I can do. And these will be bonus episodes, so I might not make them, but it's a possibility that they are there. Before we get started, I would like to say that I am in no way, shape, or form attacking the community itself of slasher movies or Halloween community. I am a part of this community. Excuse me. With that being said, there will be a couple trigger warnings. I know it was pretty violent at the start, so I will be censoring a lot of language, foul language. Yeah, there's going to be gun violence. Not really many trigger warnings in this one, just mainly just violence overall. Anyways, let's get into the Halloween Wannabe. It's 12:30 a.m. in Parker County, Texas, when the 911 operator receives a call. Jake Evans, the kid calling 911, seems oddly strange. He's very... what's the word? He's very calm. A little too calm for this situation. He's very... almost like he's having a conversation with an old friend. But he also seems a little bit disassociated and out of it during this. Parker County 911, what is your emergency? My house. Where's your emergency? What's your address? Okay. What's the emergency? I just killed my mom and my sister. What? Yeah, I just, killed my mom and my sister. You killed your mother and your sister? How did you do that? I shot him with a .22 revolver.
911, where's your emergency?
My house.
Okay, what's the emergency?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
You just killed your mother and your sister? How did you do that?
I shot him with a .22 revolver.
Are you sure they're dead?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to stay on the phone with me, okay? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Where is the gun?
It's on the kitchen counter.
Is there any reason that you were so angry at your mother and your sister?
I don't know. I wasn't, it's weird. I wasn't even really angry with them. It just kind of happened. I've been kind of planning on killing for a while now.
The two of them, or just anybody?
Pretty much anybody.
Why?
I don't know. I don't really like people's kind of attitude.
Right.
Jake seems almost, again, like I said, unbelievably calm and yet overwhelmed with the situation at the same time. He speaks very much like an awkward teen, almost like he doesn't know what to do with himself over the phone. He's just kind of like, I don't know, you know? And overall very helpful to the police, but still he shouldn't have committed this crime to begin with. It's almost like you would think that he's calling like a friend on the phone, or you would think that, you know, he's not necessarily talking about what he's talking about in the call. You wouldn't think that on the outside looking in at the tones and everything, you would think that he hadn't just killed his mother and his sister only minutes previously. And I would hope that he would have been less casual about it, but I don't think that's not how it went. But the operator tries to comfort Jake like a mother comforting a scared kid. She's doing a very good job trying to keep him calmed down so that he doesn't do anything stupid. She asks him questions like, are you like taking any medication? Do you have any like history of mental illness? Are you going to hurt yourself? Just being a good person, very calm. She gets over the shock very quickly, which is remarkable. I don't know how she did it, but she did somehow she was able to disarm him, because in these kind of situations where the murderer ends up turning themselves over to the police, they end up killing themselves before the police can come. So it's very, she did a very good job. So that woman needs a raise. But anyways,
I don't know.
It's okay.
It's just my family. I don't know. They're just kind of really. I guess this is really selfish to say, but to me, I felt like they were just suffocating me in a way. I don't know. I think obviously, you know, I'm pretty, I guess, evil, but that's, whatever.
Jake wasn't a really violent person or kid from what everybody knew of him. I mean, on the outside looking in, he didn't seem violent. He lived in a very privileged family with a gated community. He was very rich, and it was kind of out of character for him. And some people would say, like, you know, he, unlike most killers, serial killers or killers in general, are very malevolent people. Not condoning this, but they usually grow up in very unstable households overall, just kind of a lot of mental illness there. And like Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, he grew up in a very rough childhood. His parents abused him. There was a lot of bullying. Overall, he just kind of got stepped on by everybody, which, again, no way sympathizing with Jeffrey Dahmer. He was a terrible person, and I hope he's rotting in hell. I don't know what's anyways, continuing on. It's kind of strange to see such a privileged kid end up killing his loving family. His parents love him, by the way. His dad has always loved him. His mother, he had a great relationship with his little sister and his mother. Nobody would have seen this coming. There was no tail signs in anything that he's ever done. And this is, again, no way condoning any murder or violence towards anybody. But on Wednesday, October 23rd, Jake had gone to an allergenist appointment or something, like, for his allergies, with his mother and his younger sister. And afterwards, they ended up stopping by to eat some lunch together. It's just like a family outing. When his younger sister, I'm going to keep her anonymous, but the younger sister ends up making a rude, racist comment towards a man cutting grass in the area. And Jake is angry about this. I would like to say that he had been planning to kill his family for a long time. Well, not his family, but he had been planning to kill for a while. And then only recently, after watching the Halloween movies, he decided it would be his family, just like the movies. Because he wanted to be like the killer in the fact that he shows no remorse and kills people who deserve it. But he ends up confronting his sister, and she doesn't apologize for it. She just kind of goes, okay, whatever. And then it just kind of, moves on from that. But after the whole lunch thing, there's tensions are still pretty high. He goes home, and the minute he gets home, he's up in his room. And immediately, he grabs the DVD of Rob Zombie's Halloween #1 and pops it in and watches the entire movie the third time that week. After watching the Halloween movie, he puts it back in the case and ends up trashing it. So, kind of a waste of thing. And the reason why he trashed it, and he said this, he believed, period cramps. He believed that it would lead the police to believe that the reason why he killed was because of the movie. And yeah, that kind of was the reason why he killed, but he didn't want them to know, so he trashed it so that the police couldn't find it, and it was just like this whole thing. He went to his backyard and began, hitting around some golf balls because he loved golfing to pass time. Around 4 p.m., he went back to his room to watch Family Guy when his sister ended up knocking on the door And like a little sister, she wanted to spend time with him. So she asked him, oh, you want to watch a movie together? And instead of being a good brother, he brings up what had happened at the little restaurant they went to, and brings up the fact that she made the racist comment and how that wasn't okay. He ends up scolding her. She just kind of goes, okay, well, whatever, and just doesn't really show any remorse for it, gets pissed off. An argument happens, and he ends up refusing to watch the movie with her. And, obviously, I can't imagine how sad she'd be. She ends up going back to her room because she had just wanted to spend time with her older brother, but, turned down. Which I will say, I don't condone racism in any way, shape, or form. What she said or did was not okay. Continuing on. After he had refused to watch the movie with her, he decided to sneak into his dad or his parents' room and go into the closet and find his dad's foldable blue knife. And he steals it from him because he decides at that moment, I'm going to kill my sister with the knife. So he goes back to his room and he paces around like a madman for however long. And he's, trying to figure out how he's going to kill her, kind of mentally preparing for this moment because he knows for a fact that he's going to kill her. But eventually he ends up hiding the knife underneath his pillow, and he gets up and he goes to his sister's room and he knocks on the door, and she answers. I'm assuming he probably apologized or something happened there, and he ends up starting a pillow fight with her. And so they start fighting, having fun, and she doesn't know in this moment that this is his way of calming her down before killing her. But yeah, they have a pillow fight, and then he goes, do you want to watch a movie together? And she's like, okay, yeah. So they end up sitting down and watching a movie together. And as they're watching, he's planning out her death, and she's just trying to enjoy the time she has with her brother. And he figures out, or he thinks about in that moment, how he doesn't want her to suffer, so he's gonna go to his grandparents' house and steal his grandpa's .22 revolver and shoot her with that. So that's what he's gonna kill his mom and his sister with. In his testimony, he stated he didn't want her to suffer. So after the movie, he decided to steal his grandpa's .22 revolver. Again, states in his thing, I don't want her to suffer. He kind of acts like throughout the case, he kind of acts like he's an innocent child who didn't mean to kill his sister or his mother, that he just is so traumatized, that he's the trauma victim. So after he steals his grandpa's .22 revolver, he comes home and he paces around his room for a little bit. And then at 11 p.m., he waits outside her door, contemplating, like, should I go through with this? I don't know what I should do. Should I turn back? Maybe it's not too late. But he decides to go through with it anyways, and he knocks on her door. And she opens up the door, and she looks around, and she steps out, and then she finds her brother pointing the revolver to her head, and she thinks it's fake, so she goes like, Jake, stop, you're scaring me, like, you're such a jokester, like, stop it, you're freaking me out. And he doesn't respond, and he watches her slowly take a step to the foot of the stairs, and a loud bang, 2 bangs, disrupt the peaceful environment of this gated community into the night. It cracks out into the night. She got shot once in her back and once in the back of her head. And she plummets down the stairs, blood trailing behind her, all over the walls. And his mom, alerted by the noise, comes over and is, freaking out. What just happened to my daughter? What's happening? And she sees her daughter on the floor, lying in a pool of her own blood. And she starts to scream and cry, and she's freaking out. She's about to call 911, but in comes Jake and shoots her in the head multiple times and in the chest. His mother falls to the ground, obviously dead, and he can't believe what he just did, so he runs up the stairs and starts screaming in his room, Like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? What did I just do? I'm evil. I'm a monster. I'm horrible. I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe I just did that. And while he's having a freak out, he hears his sister groaning downstairs, and he realizes, oh my gosh, she's still alive. And mind you, he's like taking out the shells of the revolver onto his bed. They're piling everywhere. Things are falling off. It's whole chaos. His hands are probably bloody. There's just everything is a mess. And again, he hears his sister groaning downstairs. And instead of being a sane human being and calling 911 or emergency services, he doesn't want her to suffer, so he puts the bullets back in the revolver, runs back downstairs, and while apologizing very loudly, saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this, I'm sorry. He shoots his little sister in the head, and she dies. After he just murdered his mother and his little sister brutally, he goes upstairs and he calls the police. At 12 a.m., the police again receive a call. The operator talks to him about it, like I had said before, and she calms him down, and after at least 15 minutes, the police arrive on the scene, and he just cooperates. They take him out in cuffs, amazed by the fact that he's just giving himself up. And as they take him away, he says things like, I don't want to have to deal with the nightmares. Is there medication you have for that? And he's very disoriented, disassociated, almost like he's not there, but he's there. And there's almost what people describe was, well, netizens described was remorse. I believe personally there wasn't even a hint of remorse in his eyes. There wasn't a single bit of him sorry for what he did. He knew what he was doing, and I'm convinced he would have done it again if he had the chance and if it wasn't such an inconvenience on his mental health. I think that this whole case is horrible. And again, the fact that he says he's worried about the fact that he's going to have nightmares, and he doesn't really worry about the fact that he just killed his mother and his sister. There is no, I'm a terrible person for doing this. There is a bit of that, but it's mainly kind of him worrying about himself. Shows what kind of character he is, but after the fact, it is reported in case that he told his father, well, the judge and court, that he, quote, didn't want to see his dad again or his family. He didn't want to see them because it was too painful for him. What about the pain you have inflicted on your family? I want to say that this isn't about you, Jake. This isn't about you at all. During trial, he got basically said that he wasn't eligible or sane enough he wasn't fit enough to take trial. So he got kind of a slap on the wrist a little bit. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison, and we'll talk about this in the next episode, the whole court process and everything. But he was tried as a minor when he should have been tried as an adult. He was 17 years old, so he was legally a minor, but he should have been tried as an adult, in my opinion, because he did do a brutal killing. I wanna give my condolences to the victim's family. I want to say that I am so dearly sorry for everything you went through. I tried to keep them anonymous. I think I did a good job at keeping them anonymous, but I can't imagine the amounts of pain you were feeling in that time and how horrific this was for you to go through. I also want to say, again, Jake is still in prison and he will not be released until 2055. So that is some time away, but I just can't believe the fact that I'm going to be alive while he's free. Like, he's going to be free one day, which is crazy to me. Anyways, that's all for today's episode. This will be cut into parts as like for the next episode because there is a lot to cover in this case. This isn't necessarily like a super big case, but it is my first episode and I want to keep it short and snappy. So thank you a lot for listening, and I hope you guys tune in for the next time. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.